The session is really about something we touched upon earlier in the panel, driving ROI from social media. In fact, one of the panelists commented, there is no such thing as ROI from social media. So let's have a relook at this. And again, given my background from airlines, lots of airline examples, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. For those of you tweeting out there, I'm at SimpliFlying, and you already know the hashtag. So a quick show of hands first. How many of you, which of your organizations here, have a Facebook fan page? Hands up. Wow, oh my God. Stop doing it. Okay. How many of you here have a Twitter page for your organization? Stop doing it. You know why? Just look around. Everyone's doing it. Everyone. It's a red ocean, not a blue ocean. Don't do Twitter and Facebook just like your competitor is doing, which might be next to you. Okay? Don't do it. Don't just follow blindly. It has to achieve some business objectives, and that's what we're here to talk about. Why did I say stop doing it? As you saw in the room, it's an interesting number. 99% of all retailers will be on Facebook by the end of this year. And that's retailers. That's not just hotels or airlines. It's the barber, it's the pizza guy, it's the shoe shine guy. Everyone is going to be on Facebook. This is a US stat. And 91% will be on Twitter. So if you are there, you're just one of the many. And guess what? When I'm on Facebook, I'm checking out my friends' birthday pics. Not going to the airline page or the hotel page to check out the next offer. I might have liked you when you gave me an offer, but how about getting me back? That's what it's about. So given those stats, it's something to think about. All your Twitterers out there, get your speed typing ready. You might want to tweet these stats out. How airlines use Twitter. This is an infographic which we published on SimpliFlying 2 days ago. It's by a company called Travel 2.0. And there are 180 airlines tweeting currently. How many countries are there in the world? About 200. So look at the number of airlines tweeting. How do you decide, right? This is for the major airlines. Delta, at Delta Assist, which is the customer service handle of Delta Airlines, tweets over 60 times a day. That's amazing. That's a lot of tweets. KLM, 13.1. I know Lufthansa is in the room. If maybe later on we can get a stat from them. Southwest, of course, 4.6. And Delta, the main airline handle, tweets twice a day. JetBlue has more than 1.5 million followers and a 17-person team managing those followers, which is a point to note. This is the interesting stat, which I would love to have a chat about later on. 1.1 million people having Wi-Fi on board. I know hotels have had Wi-Fi for a long time, and I don't know why they charge me for that. McDonald's gives it to me free. 1.1 million people are going to have Wi-Fi in flight. How about customizing your marketing services? And that also means they have Twitter on board the flight. Each plane as a marketing node in itself. Think about that. Here's another stat. United Airlines, they get 164 tweets to them every day, and they reply to 3.3. Surely something's amiss, right? Now, given those stats, where is this leading? As I said, everyone's doing it. And it's not so difficult. Let's look at one example. I'm so glad this conference is happening this week because this happened last week. American Airlines, who here is an A Advantage member? Who here has liked their Facebook fan page because of this? There you go. At least even in the small selection of group, we have people. What happened was they started their Facebook fan page on 1st of February, exactly 1 month ago. And for 2 weeks, they had organic growth, about 2,600 people who liked them. Then they launched a competition. You see that mystery miles competition? Sorry, I went too ahead. On your right, enter your AA Advantage number and see how many miles you'll earn. It's just a random draw. You might earn between 100 to 100,000 miles. I think the competition is still on. Give it a shot. I got 100. So did most of my friends. But here's the interesting thing. Initially, the interaction was with about 41 people when they started, with the 2,000 fans. Decent enough, I would say, in terms of ratio. Within 3 days, or rather within 54 hours, their Facebook fans had grown to 210,000 from 2,558 when they started the campaign itself. Now, that's phenomenal. You give them something, and they'll come. It's what we, I think, spoke about last year in May at this conference. What do we give them? How do we get them to come? Now that you've got them to come, they are interacting with you. Look at that. Not only did the likes go up from 41 to 1,200. They have 358 comments. What do you do about this? How do you manage this? If you were the manager, do you go on a hiring spree? No, probably not. Your marketing budget is set for the year. So is your hiring budget. What do you do about this? So the point being, it is really easy to make the customer happy. It's what you do after. Okay? That's what you got to think about. And why am I saying this? That's because while it might seem American Airlines did not spend a lot of money acquiring these fans, if you go on their website, you can buy 100 miles for $2.75. If we calculate that to the incremental fans that they gain in 54 hours, they spend $650,000 in 54 hours acquiring these fans. Now you got to think about return, because it seems like there's some numbers linked to this, right? So free hugs. I'm sure a lot of you have gotten this in San Francisco, Boston, New York, outside train stops. Are they good enough? We are really good at giving the free hugs out. We are really good at acquiring the numbers. Are they good enough? So I'm going to do another exercise here, okay? I want those guys in the room whose Facebook fan page has more than 100,000 people to stand up. 100,000. Going once, twice, gone. Oh, keep standing, keep standing. Good job. Those of you who have more than 50,000 people in the room on their Facebook fan page, stand up. All right, let's add the Twitter numbers. Twitter and Facebook, more than 50,000. Give them a round of applause. Good job. Okay? Nice. We have some more. Wow. All right. Keep standing. Keep standing. Don't sit down, please. Please, keep standing. Let's add a bit more to this. More than 10,000. Twitter plus Facebook fans. Just stand up quickly. Okay? Now, keep standing. I'm going to ask you a very quick question. And if you can answer that question, keep standing. Otherwise, take a seat. How many of your fans, if you're a hotel, have stayed in your hotel at least once in the last 1 month? If you can give me that answer, keep standing. Or how many of your airlines? Okay, if you're an airline, how many of your fans have flown you at least once in the last 3 months? Keep standing if you know that answer. Wow, so we do have a few answered. No, don't sit down because I'm coming. Who do we have? How many fans do we have?
It was the question, how many, or do we know that they have?
Do you even know whether they have?
I have, because they post about their stay on our Facebook page.
Awesome. How do you track them?
We don't count them.
Exactly, right? So at least you've made progress. You know. Do you know how many?
We have 32,000.
32,000 fans?
How many people have, but they post about it. They talk about it.
Great. So they talk about it, right? It's happening. They are on Facebook. Take a seat, ladies. Thank you. So they are on Facebook and Twitter talking about their travels, talking about them using your brand. But what are you doing about it? That's the key question, right? So let's start looking into how do we drive returns, which really begins with the basics of CRM, which this is something that came out 10 years ago. But start thinking about this, looking at your Facebook fan page, Twitter followership, or any other medium that you're on. What's your relationship with the customer? Nothing? Have they not heard about you? Have they not flown you or stayed at your place before? Are they aware of you but never flown you before? Have they flown you once because there's a PNR number, or have they stayed at your place once because there's some booking reference number? And then what? Maybe they're a Facebook fan or not. If they're a frequent flyer, I know I was speaking at a loyalty conference last week, and they all knew their frequent flyers and the frequent stayers, and they knew how to slice and dice those numbers. But then try replicating this on Facebook or Twitter. It's difficult, but it can be done. And then the last one. In the traditional sense of the word, a fan is someone who will advocate your brand and tell the world about your brand, not just someone who likes your Facebook fan page. Okay? So think about these relationships with your customer that you have. Point number one. Another point is, how do these relate to your social media presence? On Twitter, try to figure out who's flown you before, who's not. On Facebook, I know it's difficult, but we're going to get there, how we might be able to do this. And it really begins with you first looking at all of your social media initiatives, in fact, even marketing initiatives, and putting them in different buckets. And I just summarize them as E equals to MC square. E is equal to MC. So it's 2 E's, 2 C's, and 2 M's. Almost all initiatives that you run can be put in either measure and monitor, more like listening. You're just doing some searches. You're using Radian 6 or social mention to figure out what's going on out there about your brand. Then there are the create and communicate type of campaigns, which are really about you broadcasting something out. Like, here's an offer, and here's a bit.ly link. Click on it, you might get the offer. That's more you communicating to them. More in the traditional sense of the word, it's more of broadcasting. And then there is the engagement bit, which is really about talking back and forth. It's about conversations, it's about retweets, it's about viral videos and stuff like that. So once you have these buckets, you will, at the end of the year, when you have 12 campaigns, you can put them in each bucket. You have make sure you have your balance. Measure and monitor versus create and communicate versus engagement. A lot of airlines, hotels, resorts these days are focusing on the communicate part. It's a lot to do with offers. Let's send out offers. Let's get them to like my page and give them miles or a free upgrade. That's an offer. How much of it is engagement? How much of it is empowerment for them to do your marketing or branding for you on your behalf? Think about that for a minute. Then, so first one was buckets, okay? The next part is really link those KPIs, the buckets, to very specific business goals that you can drive. Now, this is common sense. I mean, all of you, I'm sure, are experts at this, and companies internally have done this for a long time for traditional marketing campaigns. It's about time to bring this to the online world. So, revenue, okay? In travel terms, it's about frequency. How many times has the person stayed at your place? Is it going to increase because of this engagement or this campaign? Reach, are more people going to stay? Yield, are they going to spend more per person when they stay or fly you? Decision, which is the look-to-book ratio. Is it going to help conversion go up or go down? Think about that for a minute. Then there is engagement, which is really about three, B2C, C2B, and C2C, which is really the flow of communication from you to the customer, from the customer to you. And you again want to classify and rate yourself how you're doing on each. And I'll give you examples on how this can be done. And lastly, there is reach, which is something social media is very good at tracking. Reach in terms of how many bit.ly clicks were there, how many retweets were there, how many likes were there. It's easy to measure reach. You want to put it back into a dashboard and make sure that those numbers reflect and tie in with your specific business goals. And this is across traditional media, across online media, and even real world. Tweet-ups or meetups have as much value these days than just online engagement or social media panel sessions. So let's look at some examples here, okay? How do we do this goal setting of sorts, okay? Follow me in this exercise. What you see here is really a before and after fields. Before you start a campaign, take an Excel sheet for you care. We have this on SimpliFlying. You can check it out. Input your target figures, and at the end of it, put in the actual figures. Something very simple. So how do we do this? Let's take an example. This is, again, something that happened last week. Malaysia Airlines has not only launched a booking engine on Facebook, but they allow you to check in through Facebook as well. So now, given that this is a campaign, how might they measure this in terms of, let's say, revenue or frequency? By putting this on Facebook, are more people going to buy the tickets? Maybe, maybe not. Here's my target. Here's the actual number achieved. By putting this booking engine, because there's a social layer where it shows some of your friends might be in that city at the same time, are people going to change to another flight and pay $10 more to be with that person? Or maybe pay $10 more to avoid that person because he's on that flight? That's yield, right? It goes back to yield. What's my yield figure? Actual versus target again. Something else that they do is they already allow you to print your boarding, have your mobile boarding pass and print it within Facebook. You should check this out. It launched 3 days ago. So again, thanks, Gina, for having it this week. I could put in all these examples. And lastly, this is the best part. I wish all airlines can do this. You can choose to sit with your Facebook friends who might be on this flight. Now that is earth-shattering if the stage is already not shaking. Not only can I choose I'm sure airlines will charge me $20 to sit next to them, like an exit seat. That's all right. But guess what? I can actually avoid them too if I don't want to be with them, right? So now this is interesting. Think about this campaign in terms, link it back. Driving revenue, driving engagement, absolutely. Driving yield, yes, it is. Right? So that's a revenue-oriented campaign, or even engagement a bit, not so much reach. Let's take a look at, okay, just let me backtrack. The revenue side is what you will get. This is an actual chart from an airline which is in the room, which I shall not mention. They've been using these dashboards. What you get is ultimately, give yourself a binary score. If it meets the target, you get a +1. If it doesn't meet the target, you get a -1. If it's OK, then you get a 0. Everything below 0 is where you underperformed on your own metric. Everything above 0 is where you outperformed your own metric. And when you put all of them, so each bar is a separate campaign. You can actually benchmark against yourselves, as well as do some industry benchmarking. This tool is in beta right now, so drop me a line and I'll let you know when it's launched. And there's going to be industry benchmarking there as well, which is going to be helpful. Now let's look at engagement side of things. If you can have the sound, please. This is a campaign KLM ran. Lonike, where are you? Sorry. A very simple engagement-oriented campaign, right? You're engaging and empowering the customer to spread the message. When they're happy, what do you think they're going to do? Oh my God, I just got a present. And tweet it out, right? And how did they find them? Through Twitter. So where are they going to put it? On Twitter. Very simple. So what do you think engagement metrics for such a campaign are going to look like? Did you get them to retweet? Yes. Did you make them happy? Yes. Did you get in touch with them? Yes. How about personally, like the earlier panel said? Yes. Interesting. And I mean, the video stopped halfway. You can check it out again on SimpliFlying. They achieved some amazing statistics in terms of reach, in terms of newspaper mentions, in terms of just people retweeting this initiative. Did not cost a lot. It was an experiment, ran only for, I think, 6 to 8 weeks, late last year. Let's look at the campaign second from the right. That campaign, in terms of microblogs, which is Twitter, overachieved, hence the big bar. Whereas in terms of real world, it underachieved, hence the bar below 0, and quite a long bar at that. And what you get is, again, reach, engagement, revenue. You link it back to business metrics. Your boss or senior VP does not want to see how many retweets he got. He probably doesn't understand what that means. You do, because you've been doing the work. So you want to tie it back to revenue metrics. Ultimately, what you get are aggregates for each of them. And you can have this weighted average as well. So in this case, you can see that over the last 12 campaigns, let's say, the organization spent 58% of the efforts in engagement. And what does that tell you? That tells you that engagement campaigns are generally time and resource intensive, and they don't always produce revenue and reach, as you can see from there. So maybe next quarter, you might want to focus a little more on the revenue metrics and have a mix of ROI and ROE, which is return on engagement and return on investment. So have a mix. It's not about pure ROI per se. So I hope that gives you an idea of what dashboards for social media might look like. Now, let's take a look at this video.
Hello.
Hopefully this will play.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're only boarding rows 9 and above right now. You'll have to wait.
I'm in row 8.
Please step aside, sir.
It's just one row. Don't you think it's okay if I...
We'll call your row momentarily. Step aside, sir.
When that happened, okay, imagine this lady goes for her annual employee review, okay? And her manager is marking her. Did she follow the rules? Check. Was she firm? Yes. Did she smile? Yes. Did she not allow anyone to jump the queue? Yes. Guess what? Perfect employee, promoted. But if it were to happen now, guess what? The guy's going to whip out his iPhone the one he boards the plane. If the plane has Wi-Fi, God save you. The guy is going to whip out his iPhone and tweet this all out, tweet his heart out. I know all of you talented guys in this room will be monitoring that conversation, right? You will be measuring the sentiment, right? But if I were to say, so this guy tweeted stuff out, and he said all the stuff he shouldn't have said on Twitter about you, and then he sends an email to your customer service center, and then he calls up your call center because he's really angry, are you going to be able to tie the dots together? Which is an important point I want to raise. For the last 2 years, we've been focusing on measuring the conversation, measuring sentiments of a bundle of conversations. It is time to focus on the people, which was the basic premise of CRM 10 years ago. But right now, our existing CRM systems, let's face it, are too steeped in traditionality to figure out tying tweets with call center plus emails. You'll break IT down. What you want to do, as I said, is move the focus from conversations to people. Because if it is tied to people, individuals, then you can track conversion over time, sentiment over time, ROI over time for that person. So if I were to ask you today, of your 100,000 Facebook fans, how many of them are your exact platinum loyalty club members? That's a question I hope to get an answer for next year when we meet again. If I were to ask you how many of these exact platinums stay with you longer, instead of 65 nights, they stay 95 nights because of your Facebook fan, that's an interesting question that you want to answer using those dashboards. How are each campaign driving engagement for a specific group of people, not just messages in general? So that's an important point I wanted to make. Because, as I said, we've all been focusing on the type of conversations going on. What you want to do is create social profiles for your loyal customers, create social profile for your email database. How about sorting your email database by the guy who has the highest cloud score? That's interesting. Cloud score is public. Just get that. Add it as another cell in your table, and you can sort them by that thing. And send a separate message to the guys with the who are most influential on Twitter, just 50 of them maybe, as opposed to your normal blast that goes out to everyone else. So that's something to think about. So in summary, to get ahead of competition, that's actually a turtle on a skateboard. You want to focus on the people, not the conversation. You want to design KPIs. Remember the E equals to MC square. And lastly, tie each campaign to business goals and track them. So revenue, engagement, reach, and then, of course, there are sub-metrics. More than happy to talk about. Here's my email address, and you can download this presentation from the website. Once again, thank you for your attention.